Hi, this is seriously third time lucky as far as this tutorial is concerned. I'm trying to get used to this new phone and somehow it's the same brand but something made it a little bit different and it's ended up doing it upside down twice. I think I've fathomed it out, so fingers crossed this time. Basically, we're doing an Amigurumi tutorial today, but we're going to base it from these patterns. Now, this is my book, so there's no copyright issues there, so I don't need to worry about that. I do have the rights to actually show it, and I'm giving you permission to recreate, and if you want to sell it, I don't mind either way. The book I did a couple of years ago, and the thing to watch, though, it does say mini Amigurumi. The reason being is, this is the size of the patterns that are in there. He's a little bit squashed, bless him. I've had him a few years now, but you can see we have our tiny little frog. But most of you know, if you're crocheters, knitters, other crafts possibly, I'm not quite sure, but basically you can take the same pattern, upgrade it with a larger hook, larger yarn, and here we go. We've got our little palm frog. He's very simple, there's not a lot to him, but I think he does create an effective little guy. So I'm going to pop the pattern book to one side. I can just quickly find him, and here I can show you. But there are various patterns in here. Where is he? It's coming up, it's coming up. Hey, there we go. So this is the little frog pattern that's in there. I will type up the pattern for you and pop it on my blog because I have altered it a little bit just for the YouTube because I wanted to shorten it a little bit, make it a little bit quicker. So I have changed it very, very slightly. So basically, I'm going to be using double knit yarn and a 3.5mm hook for this little guy. If you do want to make the tiny one, I made it out of number 8 anchor thread, crochet thread, and also a 1mm crochet hook. So, but you can do it a little bit larger than that if you want. You can go in between, maybe a 4-ply with a 2.5mm hook or something like that. So there is an option for you there. I've also got some toy stuffing. I've got my needles ready, a couple of beads for his eyes. And as I say, 3.5 hook, my scissors are over there, so I'll just pop them there. I've actually photocopied the pattern because I don't like to be drawing on any of the books, but I do like to mark off as I go. So I have done a photocopy of it, which is what I'm going to be working from. Oh, as I knock the table. So we're going to start with the simplest part. Amigurumi, on average, it nearly always starts the same way. And we're going to start, for my amigurumi anyway, with 2 chain. I'm going to remove my yarn because it runs better if it's not on the table. And within that, I'm then going to do, into the first chain, I'm going to do 6 double crochets. So that's 3, 4, oh, or not, 4, I think that was 5 actually, 6. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, don't worry about that. If you've done a good slip knot, that's the whole point of doing a good one. We can just tighten it up from there. I'm desperately trying to keep in the middle of the screen as well because I know that has been an issue. I've sort of pulled things down here and you need to see them up here. Now I am using UK terms, so our double crochet is an American single crochet, so depending on which direction you come in from. So into this now I have 6 double crochets. Well, I'm going to do 2 into every single one of them. So we've got 1 bit of a red yarn there. That's because I've been working with something red. It doesn't want to come out. There we go. 2, 3, it's still there a bit, but never mind. 4, 5, and 6. So now we've got 12 stitches. So just pull that nice and tight. I'm going to have this as the top of his head because I always think where you start it's a slightly neater area. So we'll go for that being the top of his head as we go around. He's almost exactly the same top and bottom proportionally, so it wouldn't make a difference either way. Now the next one I'm going to do is another increase, but I'm going to do 1, 2 regular DCs, 2 in the next one. So that's going to be our increase. So 1, 2, increase, 2 double crochets into the same space. We're going to do that 4 times. So this is our second time. So we have 1 and we have 2 stitches. Then we have 2 stitches in the same space. That's 2. We have 1, we have 2, we have 2 in the same space, so we've got 3, so I've got 1 more to do. So we've got 1, we've got 2, and we have 2 in the same space. So I've now increased by 4, so I have 16 stitches on there. Our next round is going to be just double crochets all the way around, so we need 16 of them. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's not a stitch at all, is it? Beauty of crochet, it's only 1 stitch you have to pull out. So what did I got up to? I think 4. Oh, that might have been the 4th, but it won't matter for 1 stitch. 4, 5, 6, 7. This is because I'm trying to rush a bit. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's got a couple more. 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. Right, we now have another increase row, very similar to the previous one, but this time we're going to do 3, 1, 2, 3, then an increase, and again it's 4 sets of it. So we've got 1, 2, oh, doesn't want to go in. It's not going in, it's not playing. Give it a wiggle. The wool for some reason has gone a bit thicker there. That's 3. This is only a cheap sort of yarn that I've got. It's a bit of a leftover yarn, to be honest. So that's 3. 2 into the next one. So this is our first increase. So then I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 2 in the next one. That's my second increase. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 2 in the next one. My third increase, just 1 more. 1, 2, and 3, and 2 in the last one. So that means that's an increase. We now have gone up again, so now we have 20 stitches, or we should have 20 stitches. I'm not going to sit and count them. As I said, the beauty of Amigurumi is it does have that flexibility. If I've missed a stitch, it's not the end of the world. You can place a stitch marker if you want, if that's something that works best for you, but I'm doing this nice and quickly for you, so I can do it. I'm just sort of counting and hoping for the best. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 15, just 5 more. 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. You can see how it's sort of shaping now for the top of his head. So we've got a nice little shape there. So that was 20 straight round. We have now another increase. So this time it's going to be 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 2 in 1. So again, there's only 4. Keeps consistent with that all the way through the pattern, so there's a little bit less to remember. That's 3, 4. We need an increase, so it's 2 stitches, 2 double crochets into 1. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 into 1. That's our second one. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 2 into 1, our third. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 into 1. So we've got our increase there. So we've got 4 increases round. So now we've gone from 20, we're now up to 24. Now we're not going to do a DC round for the next one. We're going to go straight into the next increase round. So this time it's 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have an increase. Remember, we're going to have 4 sets of that. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. That's our second one, I think. Did I just say that? I don't know. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to say that's our third. I'll only be 1 stitch out, if not 2 increase. I think, like I said, it's the third time I've done this video. I'm not sure what I've said and what I haven't, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. 2, 3, 4, 5, and our last increase there. Right, we should now have 28 stitches, which means we're at the center really. We've got this one more round to do, and it's just 1 in each one again, and then after that we're going to be starting to decrease, so it's going to get smaller again. So we need 28 first, so bear with me while I count the 28 stitches. Again, if you know what you're doing, you could fast forward this little bit. So I'm on 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 and 12. We're halfway, nearly. 12, 13, there we go. 14, 15, 16, I get round as fast as I can. 18, 19, 20. We've just got 8 more stitches now. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 more, 8. So now we're definitely halfway. If you have a little look, you can see we're about halfway on the frog's body, and now we're going to start to decrease from there. So we're going to have less stitches to go round. Right, the next one, we're going to do the 5 DCs again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 2 together. So I'll just remind you on that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Remembering 2 together, we go in as a stitch, but we don't finish it off. We go into the next one. We end up with 3 on the hook, and we pull through all 3. So that little set is going to be done 4 times. So we've got 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 2 together. That's our second set. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Our third set, 2 together. 1 more set of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 2 together. So now that's our first decrease round done. We're going to go straight onto another decrease round, which is going to be a 4 and a 2. So we go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we have 2 together. So remember, not full stitch into the second one. We have 3, and we pull through all 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, 2 together. Our third one, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 2 together. 1 more set. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 together. That's it. So that's another decrease round. For the next one, we are actually going to just do a normal DC round, just to balance it off a little bit. So we've got 20 stitches, so let's go for it. Oh, if I can. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's pull the yarn up a bit. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, just 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're now on another decrease. Now we did 4 and then a 2 together last time. We're now 3 and 2 together. It's almost reverse what we did at the top. 1, 2, 3. 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 2 together. It's getting less now, so it's a little bit quicker again. This is our third one. 1, 2, 3, and 2 together. We've got one more set of 3. Oh, I seem to be losing my voice a bit. Just a little cough, excuse me. 2, 3, 2 together. That was our third one, wasn't it, I hope? One more. I'm not sure whether that was the last one actually. 2, 3, 2 together. Although I would advise that, I mean, if you know what you're doing, you can just sort of have a quick look at what I'm doing and sort of copy it. But I would advise you do print off the pattern that I'm going to pop up for you on the blog. And so you've got a reference, or at least have it maybe up on one side on the computer while you're doing it. Because sometimes I do lose count and I'm a nightmare for that. Right, we are now down to 16 stitches. So we have another decrease. The decreases are quite fast now. That's 2 together. 2 stitches, 2 together. And again, this is for 4 times, so we're on our third now. I did count that time. 2 together. One more. 2 together. All right, I'm just taking my hook out for a second because I think we're ready for stuffing it now. Don't leave the hole too small because it is hard to do it. Even this is a little bit small to be doing it. So let's get some of this stuff in and get him padded out. Obviously you can make him as fat or as soft as you want as far as the stuffing's concerned. Some people prefer him a bit more squidgy. Some people prefer it sort of so it feels like it's fit to burst. When you need a little bit more, we need a nice fat little frog, nice little chubby one. Right, I think that's about right, and that feels about okay there. So what I'm going to do now is just finish it off with just 2 togethers all the way around, and that's how I usually finish my patterns. I'll usually just say 2 together round until the hole is actually closed up, which is what we're going to do. Try and keep it nice and tight because this is where you can risk getting holes in your work. And it's easy done, bit of distraction or you're a little bit too relaxed with it. Like there, it went a little bit tight. But we do need to pull it in tight like that. We are nearly there. So all it is really like a little egg shape. Couple more. In fact, I'm going to leave it there because I'm going to do a slip stitch to finish because I always think that finishes it off a little bit neater so you don't end up with a lump. And I'm going to cut our yarn, if it'll cut. There you go. Right, pulling it through. Now, if you are left with a little bit of a hole, nothing major, can you see the little tiny hole there? You can just thread this through to make it neat. In fact, I will do that now. I will get the threading up done. My phone keeps pinging on me. I really should turn it off, shouldn't I? Right, so all I've done is, look, you see I've gone across it, tightens up the gap. And if you're not sure, you can go across again, make it nice and tight. That's probably my son telling me he's on his way home from work. Right, so I've threaded it through. Let's give it a trim. We now have our little body. There we go, almost the same size as my other one. Sometimes you will get variations with your amigurumi depending on what your tension's like at that particular point. Now for the next bit, I did sort of cheat because you don't want to sit watching me do it all. So I've created 2 feet, I've created 1 thigh and 1 eye because I need to show you some of it. In fact, I've dropped my yarn, so bear with me a second. There we are, we're back up. It couldn't be any easier. The eyes and the feet are exactly the same pattern. So I don't really need to show you much of that. So I'm going to show you a foot. Or in fact, no, we'll say their feet. That's my eye, so I'm going to show you an eye. So, are we ready? So we've got 1, 2, same as we started. 6 in. 6 double crochets into that first chain, exactly the same as when we first started it. That's 3, 4, 5 and 6. Tighten it up there. We're now going going to do again exactly the same as his body, 2 in each. If it'll go in, there we go, that's 1. That was a bit tight. 2. We should end up with 12, so that's 3 and 4. 5 and 6. 7 and 8. 9, 10. Last 2, 11 and 12. And a slip stitch to finish to neaten it off. And that's it. Done. That's his eye. Doesn't look much like an eye at the moment, but when you stitch it on, you can sort of sculpt with your shapes a little bit. So I'm saying I've got 2 eyes now. In fact, if I just push this over my little finger, you can see how I can sort of just shape it into like a little dome shape, which is what we're sort of looking for his eye. So we'll pop that there. Now we need another thigh. We've only got 1 thigh at the moment. As you can see, we've got these little padded thighs. You can pop a little bit of stuffing in if you wish. You don't have to. It depends on how you stitch it on, really. Now I'm going to go again exactly the same. This is why there's no point me showing you all of them, otherwise I'll be doing the same pattern like 5 times near enough. So 6 into 1, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and once again 2 into every single one. 1, that's my second one, third, fourth, fifth, and the last one, 6. So I've now got 12 stitches again like we did before. Pull that a little bit tight, make sure it's in place. If you've got a good slip knot, that's when it helps. So we're now going to do just 1 double crochet into each one because his thigh is a little bit larger, but that's all it is. It's just 1 row, or round should I call it. It's amigurumi, it's not a row, is it? We got 5, we got 6, 7, 8, 9, 2 more, 10, 2 more now should I say, 2 more after 9, I can't count, can I? 11 and 12, and a slip stitch just at the end. The pattern doesn't say slip stitch, I might have to put it on for you. I just think it makes it a little bit neater to finish off with. Right, so we don't need our green yarn anymore. Just pull that one through, and you say it's a little bit more of a bowl shape for his legs, so it sort of sits at the side like that. Right, so now we're looking at actually stitching up. I like to use quite a small eye. Well, I don't like the eye, but I like the point, so unfortunately it turns out. Right, now as you can see with the leg, there's one bit that comes out the middle where we started with. I'm not going to just cut that off, I'm going to use it. It helps me position my work. So I can look roughly, that'll about do. So I can pull it through and it's instantly holding that piece in place while I actually stitch it on. So it is a useful thing to do. So look, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch 1 of each on and see how I'm going for time at that point. So I'm going to take that to the bottom because that's where I'd like to start my stitching. 1 stitch, anchors him in place. Now, I don't know whether you can see, I will try and take it a little bit closer. Where am I? But you can see how you have your 2 parts of your chain. Well, when I stitch up, I only pick up this top one. And then I pick up a little bit of his body. Picking up the top thread and then his body. And I'm going to do that all the way around. Of course, if you have a special method that you use, obviously ignore this bit. This is just for those of you really who are not that happy about stitching up. I know a lot of people, and a lot of people I've taught, that are happy to do the crochet but don't want to actually sew it up. I've had to sew loads of people's pieces of work because of that. but I get it. Sometimes you can do some great piece of crochet and then you completely spoil it by sewing up. So I do understand, but it takes a bit of practice and you've got to find your own method of doing it. So I've tied a little knot now, and I'm going to push that through the body once, push it through the body twice. Not everyone does that. Again, it's personal preference. Trim, and I can trim the other one off now as well because it wasn't doing anything apart from holding his little leg into place. We're going to go with the foot. Now that is the right side, but I'm actually going to turn it over for the wrong side because I want his foot to curve that way. I've already sewn in the outer piece and I've left the middle one this time. I've reversed it, and that is what I'm going to actually sew the foot on with, because I only really want to sew it on in a central position. So I'm going to just underneath his thigh there, and look, instant little foot. Obviously we need a couple more stitches in than that because that would make him very loose. So I'm just going to pop in one more, make a knot and thread it through. I would recommend that these are not really for small children though. I think anything that involves sort of beads or buttons or anything like that, I don't really think they should be given to a small child. I keep moving out of scene, don't I? There we go. I do think you need to think about what age group is looking at this. And safety always comes first. As much as I use safety eyes and I use safety stuffing and everything else, I'm very, very conscious of the age group that takes my products. Right, so I've done the same as with the thigh. Can you see I've taken that middle strand and I'm going to decide where his eye is. I think about there. Just push it through and it instantly positions it. Don't put it through too far because otherwise it squashes it down, because we need to sort of bulk that up, as you can see. We do that on the actual stitching up. You can actually be quite sculptural when you're doing this. So I'm just stitching it in. And again, just taking that top one and stitching it round. So I'm stitching it quite a bit underneath and then it sort of gathers it almost. That's all the way around. We're now passing off and push through, trimming off the little bits as we go because they can get in the way. Right, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go straight into actually putting his bead on his eye. Now I've already got a piece of embroidery thread or just single strand or just sewing cotton, whatever you've got. So I'm going to push it through because I don't want to see the knot. There we go. I'm going to get the bead and thread it on. Now when you put the bead on, I want you to pull it in. I want it to create a dint on his eye so it gives it more shape. You see how it sort of shapes it a little bit. So I'm going to push it back through again. Ideally with beads you should be sort of sewing them on 3, 4, 5 times. Make sure they're nice and secure. Whether they're for a younger person or not, I still think it's important that you make sure your things aren't going to come off. So quite a bit of sewing. I've only done a couple that time. Then I've created a knot, push it through and fasten it off. So you can see how it creates the little dinted eye. Looks a little bit weird one-sided, but he will be all right. Right, the mouth, just very briefly the mouth. Again, some people don't like adding on detail because it can actually spoil what they've done. They may have done a fabulous piece of crochet and they put the mouth on and they go, oh no, it doesn't look right. Again, lots of practice and it will do it. There's plenty of time, so that doesn't want to go through. That's because I've not used the sharp needle. Let me put that one down. This is why I like a sharp needle for my actual sewing up rather than a wool needle. Where should we take it? So we need to be looking for about middle, ready for his mouth. Pull it through because we don't want to see that knot. And then I'm going to just take it up to one side and thread it through. Yeah, can you see that? So I've looked, that's middle, that's one side of his mouth, that's the other side. So it's all in one. All I've used here is what was the remainder of the embroidery thread that I took the thread out of, into the centre and push to the back. It's a little hard to actually sew up at this point, or make a knot should I say, so I do get a little bit obsessive with the amount of times I thread it through, because I don't want his mouth to come off, do I? But I also don't want the yarn to show, so be careful how you do that. I'm going to have to cut it there because I've split it now. That will do. So as you can see, we have half a frog. You can see where he's coming from. There we go, there's his little friend. I think he's a little bit taller. That's the only thing sometimes with amigurumi, it doesn't take much to get a slight difference in size. I think his eyes don't matter if they're a little bit sort of stuck out, because a little frog's eyes are like that. So you can create different mouths. You could just go straight across and make him a cute little mouth. So I'm not going to do any more, because this is the finished item. This isn't, this is half a frog, but it has actually gone through all the details that we required. So I'm just going to tidy that up. And there's his other eye, don't lose that, because I can then finish him in a moment or two. I just wanted to comment, as I say, this is the book it's from, this is the little critter. Any problems with the patterns, because I'm going to slightly change it for you, just please let me know, send me a message. Hopefully I will try and help if there's anything there. The book is still available on Amazon, so if you do want to have a look, or there is a pamphlet version of it as well now, even though it's a few years old. Hope you enjoyed making him. Please give me any comments, any suggestions, if there's anything else you'd like me to have a go at making. Keep it nice and simple, because I've got to be looking about the half-hour stage for the videos, but hopefully you enjoyed that. Please like, share, everything else, subscribe, recommend, whatever you fancy doing. Please make comments, and hope to see you soon with my next tutorial. Thank you, bye.